Hello, today I present to you an extremely attractive application for music lovers. It's completely free. You can listen to music online or download unlimited music to use whenever you don't have internet. The powerful search function helps you find anything you want. Trust me. It's hard not to find what you're looking for because the search function is really powerful. Application download link is attached in the description of the video. I'm pretty sure you'll like it. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tom Hansen. Thank you so much for joining us. President Biden is authorizing the deployment of 2,000 additional troops to Afghanistan as the administration prepares for the fall of Kabul. The White House announced the decision in a statement from the president Saturday afternoon. It comes as CBS News confirms that all U.S. Embassy employees, except a small handful of key personnel, are expected to be evacuated within the next 36 hours. The decision is a part of the Biden administration's plan to remove all American diplomatic presence from Afghanistan. It comes as the Taliban is rapidly gaining ground on its march toward the country's largest city. We're also learning that the extremist group has claimed another major city, Mazar-e-Sharif. Afghanistan's President Ashraf Ghani is clinging to power despite growing calls for his resignation. He says he is working with local leaders and international partners to prevent further instability, violence, and displacement of the Afghan people. The Taliban seized control of Afghanistan's second and third largest cities, Kandahar and Herat, earlier this week. The militant group's reign covers roughly 2/3 of the country. Now, U.S. defense officials fear it could be just a matter of days before Kabul is taken. CBS News correspondent Christina Ruffini joins us now for more on this. Christina, as we mentioned, the White House released a statement from President Biden Saturday afternoon. What jumps out at you from that?
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, the statement reads a bit like a defense of the policy in Afghanistan, and one that's been getting a lot of criticism this past week. In the statement, he mentioned that they're going to be sending 5,000 U.S. forces to help support this evacuation and movement from the embassy in Kabul to the airport and then out of the country of non-essential personnel. That's new. Originally, the number we heard and we had been reporting was 3,000. So that's an increase, and he says that's based on consultations with the DOD and with the Pentagon. The other thing that stands out to me is he says, we've conveyed to the Taliban representatives in Doha that any action on their part on the ground in Afghanistan that puts U.S. personnel or our mission at risk will be met with a swift and strong U.S. military response. Now, that's important because there have been reports over the past few weeks that U.S. individuals, someone from the U.S., was negotiating with the Taliban for the security and safety of the embassy. However, in the past 2 days and in the past 24 hours especially, we've seen the efforts to evacuate that embassy ramp up significantly. So that leads you to wonder, the U.S. may have communicated that to the Taliban, but their response seems to be not sufficient, as the U.S. is doing pretty much everything it can to get Americans out of that embassy to the airport and then out to safety.
So two of the headlines, the troop increase to 5,000, that was 3,000, and then also another message to the Taliban. Now, you are reporting that the U.S. Embassy in Kabul will be evacuated within the next 72 hours. What precipitated this decision by the Biden administration?
Since I reported that, it's actually down closer to 36 hours now. Now, keep in mind, this is constantly changing, and it's based on the situation on the ground. Look, I think the administration really wanted to make a stance. They wanted the optics of staying in that embassy. They wanted to have their diplomatic force there to say to Afghanistan, we support you. But as we discussed in the briefing room with the State Department spokesperson this week, they are still saying that, but they're also moving out. And one of the reasons they're doing that is because of the swift pace the Taliban has been taking these provinces. They've been falling like dominoes. I heard somebody say the Taliban net has dropped around Kabul. That's not quite true yet, but it's almost true. More provinces have fallen tomorrow, and I'm getting reports from Afghan officials they're expecting several more to happen the day after that. So it's just not safe, and the safety and security of U.S. diplomats, of U.S. personnel is paramount, as the State Department spokesperson told us this week, so they're getting them out.
Yeah, a really tense situation where time is of the essence, certainly. Now, only a small handful of embassy employees will be staying behind following the evacuations. Who does this entail, and what is the purpose of having them stay at the embassy?
And it's unclear how long they're going to stay. You know, they may not be staying there for long either, depending on how tenuous the situation is on the ground. But the personnel who are planning to stay at the moment include the ambassador, top decision makers, diplomatic security agents, and this kind of diplomatic technical task force that's going to go around and undo alarms. They're going to take down cameras. They're going to wipe cards. They're basically going to start buttoning up the embassy. So if they do have to leave, they're not leaving anything behind. Look, the last thing they want to do is lower the flag on that $2 billion U.S. diplomatic facility in Kabul. So they're going to try to wait to the last second to do that. But it's looking like they are going to have to do that, and it could be sooner rather than later.
Yeah, this does seem eerily reminiscent to other withdrawals and evacuations from other countries where we've occupied, over the course of history. Now, not everyone who works at the embassy, of course, is American. What is being done to provide special immigrant visas to those in need, and where will they be going?
So CBS News has just learned that we're reporting now that about 4,000 of these they're called SIVs, special immigration visas. These are people who worked as translators, as aides to the U.S. military. And part of that deal was, you come help us, we'll get you a visa to the U.S. Now there's a time limit on this, and they've got to get these people out of the country while they still can and while they still have the resources to do so. So they're starting evacuation flights. We've seen a couple of them land in the U.S. The State Department said this week they're going to ramp up the tempo of those flights. And now we're hearing about 4,000 of those SIV applicants, because the application is really long, takes a long time to get through. It's 13 steps. Some of them are in the middle, some of them are a third of the way through, but they can't stay in Kabul if the Taliban takes over Kabul. So they're going to safely evacuate them to a third country. We're hearing about 4,000 and their family members will be evacuated to Qatar to finish their paperwork and to stay in some sort of temporary housing green zone. It's not really clear what the details of that will be yet until they can complete their visas, get approved, get that security green light, and eventually, hopefully, head to the United States.
Yeah, one thing is for sure, all eyes will be on Afghanistan for the next days, weeks, months ahead. Christina Ruffini, thank you for your insight.
Thanks, Tommy.